I'm being.
You being? Oh, that's
Yep.
good. Yeah, because last week we discussed to be or not to be. It was pretty heavy-handed conversation, I think. We didn't know what to expect, but it was good. So this week I kind of want to have a little fun. We're going to have a little fun. We're not going to get too serious.
All right.
Although it could get serious.
Okay.
So who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of the NFL?
Ooh, this is going to get real serious.
Yeah, this might actually spark some arguments,
Okay.
but I wanted to have some fun with this episode.
This is a good question. So top 4 players.
We
all
get
time.
top 4 or 5 if we want to throw in an extra just to kind of round it out a little bit.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I'll allow it.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. How many times can I say it? Tom Brady, love him or hate him. For a long time, I hated him. Back when there was still an argument that, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady being the greatest. I was on the Peyton Manning end probably because you're a Patriots fan in part, but for whatever reason also he was just like the pretty boy quarterback. And
I mean, I will say that Peyton Manning, he had a shorter career. He hasn't played as long as Brady has, and Brady's obviously still playing. And Peyton just had more of, like, his regular seasons were really, really good.
Yeah.
He just didn't have good postseasons.
Yep.
And that's the big difference between those two quarterbacks. Is one is a championship winner, and the other one is a record breaker.
Yeah.
Because even though Tom Brady is starting to break his records now, it's genuinely because he's playing for so long. I mean, he's played almost 5 years longer than Peyton Manning has. And he only came into a league a year after him. So,
yeah.
I mean, eventually he was going to start catching up to those records and breaking them.
Right. So there's a difference in play and probably a difference in quality of teams. Like Tom Brady probably had greater teams in those Super Bowl. Well,
I don't know.
There was a couple of them where he really did pull.
That one that Peyton Manning, the first one that the Colts won, that was a star-studded team that they had back then.
Yeah.
I mean, full of Pro Bowlers. And then the one that they lost to the Saints, I wouldn't say is quite as good. Not trying to say that they're not as good because they lost, but just as an overall team, I don't think they were as good as the first Super Bowl win, but still obviously good enough to get to the Super Bowl. But Peyton Manning has played with a lot of Pro Bowlers, especially over in Denver.
Yeah,
I mean, almost his
Denver was
entire
some solid
offense
teams.
were Pro Bowlers. Whereas Brady, throughout his career, has really had Gronk, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, and then he had Randy Moss for a year when they broke the records and went to the Super Bowl undefeated. But other than that, I mean, pass catcher-wise, Brady really hasn't had that many, like, sure targets. Whereas throughout
Gronkowski.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's had, like, just those 3. Like, I would say Welker, Gronk, and Edelman have been his only true 3 reliable targets. Because even though Randy Moss is an absolute Hall of Fame legend, he was only there for 1 season.
Yeah.
Whereas Peyton Manning had just lost his name. Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne.
Yeah. Yep.
And then over in Denver, he had Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Julius Thomas.
Was Wes Welker there?
Wes Welker. Yeah. He also had Welker. And then the running back that they had, even though he kind of faltered not much long after those highlight years, but that dude from Wisconsin, last name was Ball, Monty Ball, I think. If you remember him.
Yeah.
He was a pretty good running back with him at the time. But
yeah.
So is Brady your number 1 quarterback?
Yeah, so where I was going with that, love him or hate him, you got to put Brady on the Mount Rushmore. Probably the greatest football player of all time because of his story and what he's done and the amount of championships. Maybe the greatest athlete of all time relative to American sports history. And I think the story, like the championships are insane, the stats are insane, the amount of time he's played is insane, but also the story of being picked last in the NFL draft and doing what he's done.
Not last of the 6th round.
Okay.
So there was one more round after him, but for all intents and purposes, I mean, he was the last quarterback taken in that draft. Yeah. So I mean, 6 quarterbacks were ahead of him. Can you name a single one?
Nope.
That's the point.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, he's on there, right? He's on there for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm also putting Jerry Rice. You got to. Before Brady became the Brady he is in the 2021 season, Jerry Rice was considered like
the greatest football.
I would even put Jerry Rice ahead of Tom Brady up until he won that 7th Super Bowl. When Brady got the 7th Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, that was it. Brady's the number 1 NFL player of all time. But before that, I put Jerry Rice above him. And that's coming from a diehard Patriots fan.
Yeah. Jerry Rice gets a lot of hype. I know whenever they made the original top 100 players of all time, he was number 1, and probably rightfully so. Yeah, I think in terms of...
He's just got receiving records that I don't think are getting broken, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he got like 20,000 career receiving yards.
He got some pretty...
That's insane amount.
Yeah, that's
and because he
crazy.
didn't play 20 years, and if you're averaging 1,000 yards a season is very good as a receiver. So, you know, if you do the math to average it out, that's saying that over 20 years he averaged 1,000 yards. But he didn't play 20 years. He played like 13 or 14. So he did that in like 7 years minus the even average, if you get what I'm going with it.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. And he's also just up there at number 1 at touchdowns, and I think he's like 40 behind second, or in front of second, which is Terrell Owens.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, like, his records, I just don't think are going away anytime soon.
Yeah. Now that you remind me of all those stats, it's pretty hard not to put him on there as well. Yeah.
I mean, he was the original, like, record, like, he was the original stat man for the NFL.
Yeah.
Of just going out there and always putting on good games. He's also got the record for the highest amount of points in fantasy football, too.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Not
like
surprising.
55 or something. Which is insanely high.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tom Brady and Jerry Rice are pretty much shoe-ins. Rightfully, they're probably almost universally on people's Mount Rushmores. But now there's a little bit of room for contention, I feel like.
Yeah, this is when you kind of like, what do you want to look at? Do you want to look at running backs who aren't necessarily always kept in the higher standards of your quarterbacks and your receivers when it comes to offensive play? Even though most teams, if you ain't got a good running back, your offense is screwed. A lot of teams, that running back is what really needs to put them together.
Yeah, you got to be firing on all cylinders.
But you also got to look at,
team.
even though they're much more less named, and I tell you right now, I can't start naming a bunch of them off the top of my head, but offensive linemen are very much underlooked too.
The most underlooked.
Yeah. Other than just like, you know, your punter.
Yeah. There's some probably left guard in history who really made a team, but nobody knows.
I mean, dude, that entire Cowboys offensive line from the 90s.
That, if you want to consider the offensive line of the Cowboys from the 90s, that might be a thing for the Mount Rushmore.
I would very strongly consider them as a one entity to put up there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because, I mean, that's got to be the most devastating offensive line in NFL history. I mean, each one of those dudes was 320 plus. They were all Pro Bowlers. They were all big, nasty dudes. And, I mean, there's a reason why Emmitt Smith is the number 1 greatest running back of all time.
Yeah. There's a reason those teams were so good, and it was the offensive line. So that's certainly a contender.
Yeah,
completely in agreement there.
Yeah. One that's a bit, I wouldn't really call him a dark horse, but one that you maybe not think of. He's on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I was thinking there has to be a defender.
100%. A defender is definitely getting on.
Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
Is that where you're going?
Yep.
Yeah.
Lawrence Taylor, the greatest linebacker of all time. He's got to be.
Is he the greatest linebacker of all time? Brian Urlacher, Ray Lewis, Dick Butkus was a linebacker, right? Or was he a nose tackle?
No, that's a good question, actually.
I think he might have been a nose tackle.
He was definitely defense.
Yeah. He's in the middle of the defense. But
I mean, that was back in the day when, like, you'd be 205 pounds and you're playing nose tackle. So, I mean, yeah, who knows? They're like everybody on the defense weighs the exact same. Yeah, Brian Urlacher. I completely forgot about that man.
Yeah, he was a savage.
Oh, I mean, he
held
was
it down in Chicago for a while.
From when he was playing, he was the only thing that made Chicago's defense threatening. Because they never really had other good players around him, but it didn't matter. They had Brian fucking Urlacher.
Yeah, he's hardcore.
That's a nasty man. Ray Lewis is definitely.
Did I ever tell
too.
you the time I ran into Brian Urlacher at the beach?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's just, I think I was like 8th or 9th grade. And there was this huge, just this jacked, bald guy. And I could see he had a Bears shirt on. So I yelled Urlacher at him. And the dude like turned. I could see the veins popping in his neck. And he looked so pissed that I called his name. And it was actually Brian Urlacher. He's getting in the car with his kids. And he's just like, come on, guys, let's get in. I'm not doing this shit.
Fuck, these guys want an autograph.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
That's got to Brian Urlacher is probably. Oh, he's got to be the best defensive player to never win a Super Bowl. Right? Because I mean, he's just the top. Like if you think like you just mentioned, linebackers: Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, Lawrence Taylor. Who else you got at the top 3 linebackers?
There's probably some outside linebackers we're not even thinking of that were really good.
I don't really consider them in the same light though.
Okay. Yeah, he's definitely one of them.
Because a lot, especially nowadays, a lot of outside linebackers basically just line up like DNs and just rush the quarterback. Yeah. I mean, they're the ones who get the sacks all the time, but like
Von Miller, J.J. Watt.
Yeah. Well, I think J.J.
He's a defensive end, but I'm saying like
his younger brother T.J. is an outside linebacker. I'm pretty sure for the Steelers.
Oh, the outside backer for the Steelers, Harrison.
Oh, James Harrison.
Yeah, that dude. He's a monster.
Yeah, he was a stud back in the day.
Troy Polamalu. Oh, dude, I love some Troy Polamalu.
Troy with that hair, that crazy ass hair.
He would lay the wood. I think he murdered a guy. Not like outside football, but whenever playing at USC, it was a punt return, and I think the guy like called it, but Troy ran right through him. It's one of the nastiest hits.
I think I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's got the most like kick blocks. Like
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because he has a lot of highlights of him jumping over the line and straight up just blocking the kick.
Yeah.
Kick blocks. I should have said block kicked. I'm an idiot. Troy Polamalu is definitely a dark horse.
Yep.
Some of the
Ed Reed,
yeah. Some of the secondary, it's kind of hard to gauge them in a way, because I don't know. I might be speaking out of turn, but they're the defensive back records. They're all records set from like the 50s and 40s and 60s. And I don't know if that just and which is weird to think about because like they weren't throwing the ball back then like that. Unless it's just like the quarterbacks were just so unanimously bad that it was just like every other play was an interception. But like because like some of the NFL records, I think the season interceptions is like 30 or something like it's a pretty high number. Whereas like nowadays most corners and safeties only average like, or not average, but like if you get the most in a season, you're getting like maybe 10 in 16 games. And they played less games back then, too.
30's absurd. That's some awful quarterback play. Why would you even run or even throw the ball?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if that's why I'm saying it's hard to gauge. Because they didn't throw the ball that much back then, does that mean that cornerbacks have just, like, they've got, not, like, worse, but just the way we use the cornerbacks in the NFL is not the way they were used back then. So they were better back then because they were more focused. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think athletes have only gotten better. I think the utilization of the cornerback position's only gotten better. It's probably some spoofy way the game was played where there's a higher probability for them to get interceptions. Yeah. But I think one of the big determining factors, stats are important, of course they're important, but it's those big game moments that can change the tide for the team. And yeah, those electrifying moments, right? And Troy had many of those. Like, he had a ton of those.
That is true. So, I mean, he was one of the big reasons why their defense was making it to Super Bowls. I think he actually had one of the game-winning plays against Green Bay. Or no, not Green Bay. The Cardinals, right? Who was that who ran back that touchdown?
No, that was a linebacker.
Was that Harrison?
I don't know if it was Harrison, but I'm pretty sure it was a linebacker. It's a bigger guy. Oh. But he definitely had interceptions and big plays and blocked field goals and stuff to getting to Super Bowls and in them. I think another really good corner, and you're going to have to remind me his name. He's a cornerback, played for Michigan in college, played for Oakland Raiders.
Charles Woodson.
Yeah, Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal, too.
The only defensive player to ever win the Heisman.
Yeah. That's saying something.
That's at least got to give you a little bit of an extra boost, just right out the gate. Like, just looking at the resume, you're like, oh, shit, only defensive player to ever win the Heisman? We're talking about, like, when you've got, like, college defensive players like Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett and Chase Young from these past couple of years who've been in high contention for it but didn't walk away. Or Manti Te'o, remember him from Notre Dame?
Oh, yeah.
He was, like, I think he came in second his, like, senior year for the Heisman.
I think he lost to Manziel, right?
Was it Manziel?
It was around that time.
Maybe. I don't remember who he either lost to Manziel or it might have been one of those Alabama running backs like Trent Richardson or something.
Yeah, something like that.
What a bust he was.
Yeah, forgot about him.
He went to the Browns and did nothing.
Yeah, that's back when the Browns would still eat your career.
Yeah. Well, just ask OBJ. They still do it. So outside of them, another one person that I think in is this one actually might be a dark horse defensive pick. I don't think he's won a Super Bowl. He might have later in his career. But he was a monster when he was younger. Julius Peppers.
Ooh.
Remember with him with Carolina back in the day? He was an animal.
Yeah, he was good.
I mean, granted, he didn't have – I wouldn't say he had a long successful career. I mean, he was still successful, but, like, it wasn't a consistently long successful. But those, like, 5-6 years he had in Carolina were just so dominant.
Yeah, he was awesome for a while. I don't know if I'd put him on the Mount Rushmore, but he's pretty – he was good at what he did.
Yeah, the only problem with this question is I just don't know players from, like, before the 80s.
Yeah. And yeah, so I mean, it is limited to the
Kinda
time
like
that we know.
Yeah.
Simultaneous, like there's some linebackers for the Steelers who are just nasty, missing their teeth.
Joe Green. I mean, he
Lambert.
wasn't a linebacker, but
Yeah.
Joe Green was nasty. Walter Payton. Kind of forgot about him. He's probably either him or Emmitt Smith is probably the greatest running back in NFL.
Who else is there? Like Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders. You can really and truly throw Adrian Peterson in that mix too.
Yeah.
Kind of blinking after that, honestly. Eric Dickerson.
Eric Dickerson's great.
The other guy that was with the Rams, who was after him, we played with Kurt Warner.
I can see the guy's face.
Yeah.
Marshall Faulk?
Marshall Faulk. I think that's it.
Something like that.
Dude, the 2001 Rams were nasty.
I
Greatest
can't
show on
wait
turf.
for the Kurt Warner movie.
Oh, yeah. That's just going to be pretty cool.
That's going to be nice. Yeah.
I'm glad that he's getting a movie. He's got such an interesting story. Like, didn't get drafted, was a grocer, was in the arena football. I think he played in Canada, too.
Yeah.
Was just all over the place. And he was, like, in his late 30s or something. Or, like, mid-30s by the time he actually
made it.
When you could say, like, not before he won the Super Bowl, but before you can actually say, like, oh, yeah, you're an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
He was in, like, his mid-30s. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that is wild to think about.
Yeah.
One of the greatest, if not the greatest, kind of underdog story.
I'd say
in
the greatest quarterback story in the NFL. I don't think anybody as a quarterback has a better story than him. I mean, I could be wrong. Somebody might throw up there that some dude who had, like, lost both his parents and then was raised by his uncle who beat him, and then he went on to win, like, 4 national championships. And who am I talking about? Tebow's the greatest.
I had no idea where you're going with that.
Oh, God.
Dude, demolish the other 4 heads, just Tebow.
Dude, remember when we thought Tebow was going to light up the league?
Tebow was something special at Florida, though. He was something special at Florida.
He's definitely got to be one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah.
Won 2 national championships, won the Heisman, put up a lot of SEC records.
I feel like he was one of the first, like, real running quarterbacks. He was definitely one of the first that was like a tight end trying to run through people.
He was probably one of the first of, like, didn't look like he's a runner, but he's a runner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it. Because Vince Young was before him in Texas.
No, was he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Vince Young was like 2005, and Tebow was a few years after that. Vince Young, and I was also going to say, like, Randall Cunningham. He played for the Eagles, and he's probably the first, like, true running quarterback other than, like, Steve Young. Because Steve Young is also considered a pretty high up there running quarterback.
Yeah. I feel like they played around the same time, right? Or no, Steve was in the 80s.
Yeah, Steve was 80s. Randall, I think, was 70s, wasn't he?
I don't know. Gets murky.
Yeah. That's where my era and knowledge of NFL kind of very dips. I don't know much, like I said, prior to the 80s. Another dude, you know who's another great player? We were talking about Brian Urlacher, a great player, never won a Super Bowl. You know who I think is the greatest offensive player who's never won a Super Bowl?
It's a quarterback, right?
Nope.
No. Running back?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
And as soon as I say his name, you're gonna be like, yeah.
I know a tight end. Jason Witten. Come on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No,
What?
who are you thinking?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh yeah.
that's the exact reaction I knew was coming. Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald is, one of the greats. They had a couple seasons. They made it to the Super Bowl once, even maybe twice, at least once. He made it. Kurt Warner took him.
That was his rookie season, I think, or either his second year, something like that. He was very young in the league when they went that with Kurt Warner. I don't think they've been to another one. But yeah, I mean, he is the one guy that I think that it is such a shame that he never got to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, always one of the best receivers in the league, always a consistent receiver that you always could rely on, whether that be as the quarterback, as a head coach, as your offensive lineman, as a fantasy football league player or owner or whatever you want to consider yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Larry Fitzgerald is going to go out there and ball.
He's going to provide. He did it for, like you're saying, for a long time.
For, a good 13, 14 years, I think he was in the league.
So thinking of him, another player. So if you wanted to determine, because he had a relatively short career, I feel like, based compared to what he could have had, and he was on a bad team, but definitely an athlete for the ages, Calvin Johnson.
Yeah. If Calvin Johnson would have played a little bit longer and would have had a more consistent team to work with, we would be looking at the greatest receiver of all time. He would have okay, before I get ahead of myself, he wouldn't have shattered, but he would have broke Jerry Rice's record. I 100% believe that. That man was another type of talent. He was an absolute freak of nature.
He was the only reason the Lions won games at all, probably. Him and Matthew Stafford, but mostly him.
Yeah, 100. I mean, if Matthew Stafford doesn't have a person to throw the ball to, I mean, you see how it happened when he left the Lions, what happened to the Lions when he retired. They did nothing, and they still had Stafford. So, yeah, I'd say a lot of it was Megatron, Calvin Johnson. I mean, goddamn, he got the nickname Megatron.
Yeah, that's not given lightly.
Yeah, I do actually remember. I don't remember what year this was, but I do remember watching football one day, and it was the Lions, maybe against Green Bay, something like that. And they were showing that, like, just how insane his catch radius is, of where you just put the ball and he's going to get it. And they were saying that he could stand in the direct center of a standard garage door, standing in the direct center of it, and you could pinpoint that ball in anywhere of the rectangle of that garage door, and he could get it. That's how insane his reach was.
That is great. That's
and we're talking about like a garage door that's, like at least like probably 15 feet wide.
Yeah.
So he's basically got 15 feet width and like 10 foot of height that he can get that ball. He's going to get it. And that's insane. Yeah,
that's unbelievable. Yeah.
If he would have had a longer career, he probably would be the greatest receiver ever. He's still going to get in the Hall of Fame, I think. I don't know I don't know if he's going to be a first ballot though.
How many years did he end up playing?
It was less than a decade.
Because
that was one of the because that was one of the big things that when he retired, people were like, "Wow, he hasn't even been in the league for a decade, and like he's the best receiver. Like he's retiring early."
Yeah.
So I think that might be the one thing that holds him from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's definitely getting it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that can hold him back.
Yeah.
Is Troy Polamalu in the Hall of Fame yet?
Yes.
Okay.
He got inducted this past year.
Oh, nice. I know Peyton Manning also got inducted.
He did.
Yeah, good for them. Good for them.
It was nice to see.
You think Eli gets in the Hall of Fame? He's got 2 rings, but he fucking sucks.
I think for the reason that he has 2 rings, yeah, he'll get in the Hall of Fame.
Do you think if you were a starting player, because obviously if you're on the team, you get a ring. So what I'm saying is, if you think of someone who is a star player for that team, and then they get a Super Bowl ring, do you think that warrants enough consideration alone for them to get in the Hall of Fame?
A star player winning the Super Bowl?
Okay, for instance, when the Colts won their first Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, they played the Bears. The Bears quarterback was Rex Grossman. I think that's his name. I could be wrong. It was something. It was Rex something, I think.
I think you're right. Okay.
If the Bears win that Super Bowl and he's got a ring, they probably keep him around instead of cutting him like 2 years later. So if he has more of a consistent career with the Bears, do you think that one Super Bowl is enough to eventually he gets in the Hall of Fame? Or just because he's got a ring, it's still not enough?
How many rings does Aaron Rodgers have at this point?
One. That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah, no, he's...
Well, Aaron Rodgers is going to get in.
He's first ballot, no question.
He's had too hell of a career. But
right,
someone who, if you don't really pick it up, might be heading that direction. Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
He's really been fading off lately.
I don't think Russell Wilson's guaranteed Hall of Fame at this point in his career. If he has like 3 or 4 more good, like at least good seasons, probably.
Maybe wins an MVP. I don't even think he's won MVP at all.
I mean, it's pretty hard to win the MVP. I don't think you don't have to win the MVP to be a
I'm just saying that's a major boost. That helps.
Yeah. If you ever win the MVP, there's only one of those things going out a year.
Well, yeah, I mean, so
like
same thing with the Super Bowl.
You're going into the Hall of Fame unless it's your first season, you get injured, you never play again or something. But to get back to your point, obviously that helps, but to be in the Hall of Fame, I feel like you have to have several consistent seasons. Either like a good consistent career or like 3 to 4 seasons of just absolutely annihilating. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wonder what their criteria is. If there is like an actual like they look at it like based off of like numbers. Or if it's just of like, he had a great career. Yeah. And they just vote it.
Might be a little bit of both.
That'd be an awesome committee to be on.
Be fun.
Yeah. I would love to do that. Just to look through back the people's careers, see how well they did, give my opinion, my grades. Do I think they belong? Do I not? But I'd be very fair. I wouldn't just be like a jackass about it.
Yeah.
But that'd be very fun.
Tony Romo?
Tony Romo.
Is he getting in?
Fuck, if he keeps going with his commentary alone, he's the best.
Yeah,
I love listening to Tony Romo on football.
He deserves a ring for his commentary.
Yeah. And his, what is his commercials? Oh, what's that? Is it
Corona?
Corona?
Yeah.
His Corona beer commercials are pretty funny.
Yeah, they're solid.
I don't know. Tony's a tough situation. I feel like, honestly, the name Tony Romo held more weight than his actual ability to play, if that is a fair criticism.
He had a heck of a name because he's a long time starting quarterback for America's team.
I mean, he was good.
He was good.
And he had some very good years.
Yeah.
But he's also was a part of the Cowboys that were known as the 8-8 Cowboys.
Yeah. They never broke it. Maybe he's part of the reason. Maybe part of the reason is we never had like a phenomenal defense.
Yeah, y'all's defense definitely waned back in those days.
Yeah. So he was only working with so much.
The offense was good because y'all had Jason Witten. What was
Miles Austin.
Miles Austin and Des Bryant too.
Yep.
For a while there.
Forgot about old Des. Yeah.
Throwing up the X's.
Yep.
The catch that never was. They still talk about that to this day. He's in a Uber Eats commercial. And like they drop his food and he like, I caught that. Everybody saw I caught that.
Oh, dude, I have not. Dang.
Yeah, they still bring it up. Is that going to be the moment that defines his career? Because they still talk about it.
Probably. Greatest career-defining moment in football history is whenever Jadeveon Clowney hit that running back from Michigan in the Outback Bowl. And that was the number 1 play on ESPN for like a year and a half.
That was a big play. Honestly, another career-defining moment, and this really goes for both of them because this drastically changed the directions of both of these men's career. The Lawrence Taylor-Joe Theismann hit.
Yeah.
It basically screwed one guy's career and made the other one look like an animal.
Yeah.
I mean, Lawrence Taylor was already Lawrence Taylor by that point, but that was kind of like, and I know it sucks. I'm pretty sure he's not happy that he ripped Joe Theismann's leg to shreds, but when you have anytime you're a defense player and you have a big hit, that's what really throws you over the top. And I think that was a big career-defining moment for both of those gentlemen.
Agreed. Yeah.
Also, probably now this just could be a biased opinion, but probably one of the most biggest. This has got to be no. I'm taking this back from what you said. The Clowney hit is not the biggest game-changing play in football.
You're gonna say what, the Hail Mary by Doug Flutie?
No. That is a cool one though. No. The helmet catch. New York, New England, the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a huge one.
Victor Cruz?
No. That was David Tyree.
Okay.
Because if he doesn't make that catch, Patriots get the ball back, or at least they had to punt it, something like that. Like it was he had to catch that ball type of thing. And because of the insaneness of that catch, you got to put it up there. And because of the circumstances of that catch, you got to put it up there. Because if New England gets the ball back and wins that Super Bowl, they're the first team since the Dolphins to go completely undefeated. But even better than the Dolphins, they did it with more games. So it would have been like the new standard of an undefeated season.
Yeah.
And that didn't get to happen.
Yeah,
and
that's
I still cry about it at night to this day.
That's why you hate Eli so much.
Yeah. I really do. That was like the big turning point where I was just like, I don't like Eli, man. And then he did it again like 2 years later, 3 years later. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yep. Yeah, that is. I'm trying to think of a bigger play in NFL history, and that might be an immaculate reception.
Yeah, I was just thinking that one just popped in my head. The immaculate reception is pretty big.
That's
because
a dicey, controversial.
Yeah, because of the whole camera and no replay and all of that back in the day.
Yeah,
they didn't have that, so they couldn't. There was no overturning that or looking at it.
I think even looking at the video.
Yeah, that's what
like it clips right below.
That's why I'm bringing in the camera part. Like they didn't have. That was back when they only had like 3 cameras on the whole field. So if you didn't get it at this one angle, you didn't get it at that one angle, you didn't get it at that one. Well, you got it. That's it.
It is what
you
it
don't
is.
have 40 cameras in a stadium like you do now. But yeah, that one's a big one. I actually, you remember I did a presentation about that in high school for English class.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to do. I don't remember. It was something about controversial topics.
That's a good one to pick.
It's everybody else was like choosing like societal controversial stuff about like medicine or like the age gap or not age gap, the pay gap, things like that. And I'm just like the immaculate reception.
You people don't know what really matters.
Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Oakland Raiders. What happened? Got 100 on that bitch too.
Yeah.
I know how to talk football, man.
Yeah.
So to bring it back to the Mount Rushmore, though.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree Brady and Jerry Rice, and I'm very cool with putting the entire Dallas Cowboys offensive line as one person because I think that's very fair. Because I don't even know the individual names of those players, and they're monsters. They're the best of what they do, and I don't know their names. So it's kind of hard to go through and pick just one fantastic offensive lineman because I don't know who they are. They don't get talked about. They don't get the recognition that they so rightfully deserve.
Yeah.
Because without a good offensive lineman, you can't do anything on offense.
And honestly, I think the Dallas Cowboys offensive line started bringing the light to offensive linemen have probably been talked more about since that cohort. And
also treated better by their teammates, I think, too. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Emmitt Smith might have been the first one who started, like, treating his offensive linemen to, like, steak dinners, buying them jewelry, doing all that kind of, like, hey, man, you're making me look like an absolute freak out here. So, like, here's a sports car.
Yeah, he definitely did that. So he might have been the first.
And that's what really is like the point where like a lot of running backs, like Derrick Henry does that now. Like I actually a couple weeks ago, watching a Tennessee game, they were talking about how Derrick Henry buys his offensive lineman jewelry, watches, chains, all that kind of thing. And one of the offensive linemen was like, I've got more jewelry from Derrick Henry than I have bought from my own wife. Which is so funny that a dude you just work with essentially
gets you more jewelry.
Yeah, I mean, like you're iced out because of the guy you're blocking for, and your wife's over here just like, "Where's my shit?" You make millions of dollars, asshole.
Yeah. Oh man.
So who we putting up at the 4th?
Yeah. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Dallas Cowboys line, I'm okay with putting that as 3. I feel like we have to put a defensive. We don't have to, but I almost feel like you have to.
It's got to, because there's too many great defensive players that it would feel. I don't want to be too
and
offensive heavy.
Honestly, defensive players are the heart of football.
Yeah, because I mean that's what they say. Defense wins championships.
Defense wins championships. The greatest athletes ever to play football were probably on the defensive side of the ball. The most aggressive people.
100%
on the defensive side of the ball.
Unless you're an Alabama running back.
The defense is football, even though all the lights on the offense and numbers and all that stuff.
You come to see the offense. You leave with a memory of the defense.
Oof. Wow.
That's a fucking quote for y'all.
All right, man. Lay it down.
Yeah. So Lawrence Taylor, he's definitely up there. Brian Urlacher's up there. Ray Lewis is also up there. It might just be a linebacker as the greatest defensive player of all time. Because, I mean, also, like, you think the middle linebacker is essentially the quarterback of the defense in a way. Usually that or, like, a safety who kind of plays more as a linebacker. Like that one dude for the 49ers who ripped his finger off in a game. I don't remember his name. But Ronnie Lott, maybe? Was that
Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie
Lott was really good.
Because he played more like a linebacker than a safety. Like, he wasn't...
He was a corner. No, he was a safety. Strong safety.
It was whoever I'm thinking of. It was a safety for the 49ers that got his finger ripped off.
Yeah, it's Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, he always, at least from what I've seen from highlights and stuff, he always played more like a linebacker did than being out there in coverage and stuff. Like, he was like, he's going to come up and lay the wood on the running back.
Yeah. And I feel like Troy Polamalu hits that argument
too.
Yeah,
for sure. He is the, like, modern definition of Ronnie Lott. And then the current modern, probably Cam Chancellor, maybe Jamal Adams currently with the Seahawks. One of those two. They both don't play like safeties, but they are safeties. They play like linebackers.
Yeah,
they kind of keep that spirit alive.
The peak Seahawks defensive backs, that collective.
Yeah, Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas.
Yeah,
that's definitely the best lineup of a defensive backfield ever. There's nothing better than that one. And they still lost to the Patriots. God, gotta love it.
Yep,
just
had to run the ball.
Yeah.
So
I got one more.
Jim Brown.
He was a running back.
Yep.
But no.
Okay.
Jim Brown is very, very up there. Like, he's before running backs, like, were just he was the definition of an animal running back when all running backs were animals. Because all the running backs back then were just running everybody over. Because like I was saying,
he was playing in like the 40s, dude, or the 50s. He was before. Jim Brown was before.
How old do you think that man is?
He's ancient.
He played. He still commentates on Sunday Night Football. He's not that old.
Jim Brown?
Am I thinking of somebody else?
Yeah, you are. There's no way he's commentating. There might be another.
We're pulling up the cellular device for this one, boys.
There might be another guy. There's a guy named James Brown who does commentary for NFL, or he does like the halftime shows or whatever. I'm pretty sure Jim Brown played in like the 50s.
Okay, I'm not thinking of Jim Brown. Oh God, who the fuck is that? I always just thought it was Jim Brown. I never paid attention to him. Nah, I'm not gonna look it up. No, but Jim Brown's he's only in his 80s. He's not that super old, but yeah, okay. I'm definitely thinking of somebody else. Who am I thinking about? I'll look it up later. I'll settle this one off the air. But no, I wasn't gonna say Jim Brown. I was thinking of another defensive back, dude. Sean Taylor. Tragic life cut short. Remember, with the Redskins. I hope I have his name right.
I don't remember him.
He was number 21. I'm pretty sure. If I have the name correct, I'm pretty sure it's Sean Taylor. He was an absolute beast of a safety. I mean, probably the most all-around safety who was in the league at the time. But boy, would he knock you senseless. And I think he was killed in his home when he was like 28 or something like that. But he's another one of those. Is just if he could have kept playing, we would probably be talking about him as the best safety of all time. And so honestly, I think he might be the guy I would throw in as number 5. He doesn't quite make it to number 4, but I think he was just so damn dominant that I want to put him at number 5.
Deion Sanders?
Oh, yeah, that's number 4. Deion's number 4.
You think so?
Prime time, it's Deion. It's Deion. Like, he's won 3 or 4 Super Bowls with 2 different teams. He won with the 49ers, and he won it with the Cowboys. And he was also another guy who was playing on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Because he did receiver as well for a little bit. I think he did that more with Dallas than he ever did it with the 49ers. But he was also an electrifying punt and kick returner.
Yeah,
Like,
he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's... Ooh, he might actually be one of the best all-around athletes of football.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be number 4. Deion.
I was thinking about it, but, dude, there's one guy we haven't talked about yet. And really, he might have the most defining play in the history of football.
Okay, lay it on me.
This happened in, 2012 maybe? Somewhere in there.
This is recent.
Yeah. One of... I was going to say best franchises, but I'd just be lying. Butt fumble, dude. Mark Sanchez. Come on, man.
Oh, dude.
What a classic.
The butt fumble is definitely... I watched that live. It was Thanksgiving Day. Patriots versus the Jets. That was amazing. Just Vince Wilfork pushed the center just right into him. God, that was awesome. That is such a great highlight. That is the number. You know how they always do the "come on, man."
Yeah.
That's the number one. Come on,
man.
Yeah,
of all time.
Of
for
all
sure.
time. That's the number one anti-highlight of all time of football. I mean, that's just so great. How do you run into your own offensive lineman's ass and fumble the ball? and let a safety pick that ball up and ran it in for a touchdown. A safety, like someone who shouldn't even necessarily been near him.
Yeah.
God, yeah,
It's rough.
good times. So yeah, I'm Brady, Barry, Brady. God Almighty, I just lost a couple brain cells in that.
Dude, I think we might have messed up. We've been thinking about this all wrong. We forgot to talk about coaches.
Okay.
Let's just do players.
Yeah, we'll do players. Maybe that could be a part 2 in the future. We can talk about coaches or a little addition to it, like an extra maybe 10-minute quick episode. Talk about the coaches. But yeah, we'll stay for players for now. So Brady, Rice, Dallas offensive line, and prime time, Mr. Sanders. I like that that's a very good top 4, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I can vibe with that.
Yeah.
Half of it's the Cowboys.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. I know that'd make you happy. As long as Brady's number 1, I don't care. He totally deserves it. It's my boy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good fun episode this week. We went heavy last time. I wanted to have some fun. I figured this would be a long one, too. We had a lot to talk about. We both know football. We both enjoy football. We both played football virtually and in real life. So,
yeah.
we knew what we were talking about. This was something I thought we could get a good, real meaty conversation out of.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good, man. I
This was
enjoyed
fun.
that. Great question. Great question.
And all I just want to say to end this episode, because there's one person who's going to be sitting at home that I know is not going to like this. Cam should have dived for the ball.
Yeah.